Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Marion County Hardball. I want to remind everybody that if you like Marion County Hardball, please go to the top of my Facebook page and make a donation to the Marion County Messenger to help support this kind of programming and additional programming that may come in the future. And I'm not asking for a lot, just $1 if you like it. That goes to the Marion County Messenger. It does not go to Rick Brandt. Rick Brandt is a complete and total volunteer and does this for fun. And also, I want to take this opportunity to invite anyone that's running for public office, regardless of party affiliation, or any sitting office holder, to come on Marion County Hardball and be interviewed. And we would extend that invitation to the surrounding counties, Jackson County, Sequatchie County, Grundy County. And anyone that wants to come on, just give us a call or messages, we'll get you on. Tonight, we are talking with Thomas Morgan. Thomas Morgan is running, you're running for County Commissioner, is that correct?
Yeah, District 2, Seat C.
District 2, Seat C. But we're here to talk with him more about his recent legal case. And with that, I'm going to hand off to Rick Brandt.
Thank you, Duke. So that we can refresh the audience's memory of you, if you can tell us where you live, what your background is, and we'll go one more time the seat you're running for and why you're running.
Well, my name's Thomas Morgan. My background's real estate and real estate investing. Typically, I was buying distressed properties and messed up titles and solving problems that way, helping families with pre-foreclosures, things like that for 15 years. I wound up in Marion County. I ended up buying 120 acre of what the locals would know as We Rock. Repositioned it more towards Airbnb, started directing a lot more ecotourism, and I got into politics, honestly, trying to get a railroad crossing fixed. I had a rough crossing and problem with the local drug house that I could never get anything to happen with. And in November 2022, I went to the county commission, spoke, and gave an 8-page presentation on how to get my railroad crossing fixed, why we should have looked at it to put a quiet zone across it, and how to fund it with all 8 different grants. At that county meeting, I was kind of shunned out like I was an outsider trying to change things. I was told that my data and the science from the World Health Institute on backing why they should make it a quiet zone didn't really matter, and I needed to get a mental health survey from all the people in Whiteside from Gene Hargis. And yeah, I realized how they didn't really care. They didn't want to help me whatsoever. That's when I started kind of paying attention a lot more. Fast forward January 2024. I was at a county meeting. I was listening to them talk about how they wanted to spend $1.7 million out of the general fund on Brow Trail. And they were also talking about using some of the American Rescue Plan funds. They were talking about how they had to change the road name to be able to use the federal funds, and that we were putting the cart before the horse by trying to demand that their homes had to be there before we could use the funds and take over a road that the county didn't even own. It was a public use right of way. And they're just up there trying to sell it for like public safety. And I've gotten to the point, like anytime I hear government asking for public safety, I start to question it. I call it post-COVID syndrome, I guess. When I started looking into it though, I looked on my phone because I'm in real estate. It was one guy that owned a ton of property up there, but I couldn't run a map on my phone. When later on the agenda, I had another camper or a guy that lived on my property for 20 plus years. He was a caretaker or whatever. I gave him free rent. He lived out there for a long time. He took care of the bathrooms and kind of kept some of the Whiteside riffraff off the property. And he knew a lot more about the locals and stuff than I did. And he lived there. So it was a work exchange. He kept having ongoing issues with the same drug house. They were shooting at the direction of the railroad crossing infrastructure that I was already frustrated with the county on trying to get replaced. And we had called the sheriffs a bunch. They didn't want to help us. So separation of powers, he wanted to go to the legislative branch, see what we could do about this, see if we could get help and fix it. So he got up and was speaking on the agenda, and Linda Mason just kind of rushed him off saying, is our sheriff here? We'll get the sheriff to take care of it. And if you know Don, he's mentally handicapped. He was shot in the head and left for dead 20 plus years ago. That's why he lived in the woods on his own for a while. So it takes him a while to explain certain things, sometimes. And I thought it was kind of just dismissive, avoidant of her, that he's kind of handicapped and you wouldn't even take the time to listen to him. And so that kind of frustrated me.
So that's kind of where your first encounter with the commission, where you just weren't heard.
It was really the second one.
Okay.
Because like November 2022, I felt like I wasn't heard. And I was saying this railroad crossing's a problem. And like a week to the day after that, another tourist got stuck on those tracks, trying to cross it in a front-wheel drive car. Like, visually, if you ever go across Bulltight Road, it's a big S-curve that goes over railroad tracks, and then it's pretty steep grade, and it flattens out. As you're coming across it visually, it looks like the road curves to the right. But you have to keep going straight, or else you're going to get stuck on the tracks. And the county would just never wanted to address that. So that was kind of frustration with me, because they kept pointing it at CSX, and CSX is like, it's a county issue. Mm-hmm. So it was just constant deflection on that level. So I was getting frustrated because it actually really hurts my business a lot. And it's a county problem, though. And because it was an off-road park for years, no one really cared. It's a little bit different clientele and people going back there now. So that was kind of my first frustrations. The other issues, I had multiple adverse possession issues going on with the county, where they were labeling some of my land state land. And I was going back and forth trying to solve that with Billy Gouger.
And you got a lot of that fixed, though.
I got most of it fixed now. So fast forward into the January 2024 meeting, I heard them trying to misuse the funds, or they wanted to spend close to $2 million on a road for what I felt was a developer, because when I looked into it, it was one guy that owned a ton of lots. Later on, I found out it was 51 brow front lots and 600 acres on the other side of the road. So I was kind of frustrated. I'm like, when I got up to speak, within 19 seconds of it, Linda Mason was just going, all right, buddy, we're not going there. Because she was speaking very pro having this in her district, and we needed a third way off the mountain, and that we only spend money in the south side of the county, and just all this kind of rhetoric trying to push this through. So I started to kind of see through that, and it really made me mad. I'm like, you're literally ignoring our pleas for safety infrastructure, but yet you wanted to spend money for a developer. So like when it got to public comments, I wanted to speak, and when I went to speak, she just wanted to talk over me. And at first it was, all right, buddy, we're not going there. I'm like, ma'am, it's my time to speak. She's like, all right, if you're going to speak, you need to go to the mic. And like my background, I've taught real estate, taught classes, traveled and spoke for Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've had trained speaker presentation. Never mind, the county commission room's only, 50 foot across at most. I'm speaking to a crowd of 20 to 50 people. So I'm like, okay, if we're gonna go to the mic, let's go to the mic. Kind of frustrated, walked over there, because I thought that was more of a power play to interrupt me, because 90% of the time, most people don't speak from the mic. And last night was a great example of that. We had the pretty elderly lady giving the National Prayer Talk Day. I forget her name. I spoke with her last night. She didn't have to speak from the mic. So I was like, okay, I'll walk over the mic. As soon as I went to start again, she wanted to kind of interject and start talking over me. I was like, are you going to allow me to speak, or are you just going to talk over me like you have to everyone else? And Linda felt like she needed to assert her authority and say she had the authority to remove me. I was like, I understand constitutional rights law, and I know I'm kind of hot-headed. I was like, you can if you like, but you will have a First Amendment lawsuit. I'm trying to warn them, what you're doing is wrong. And at that point, she ordered Bo to remove me. And Bo stepped up and started putting his hands on my shoulder, telling me I need to leave. I was like, I literally looked around. I remember I looked at Duke and I was like, just kind of in shock. I was like, please film this. This is not actually happening. And Bo was like, you need to leave. I'm like, am I under arrest? And I'm like, if you're forcing me to leave the property, just kind of, what is this? What is going on?
Just real quick, so we can keep the audience up to par. You're at a county commission meeting, and Linda is the chairman of the county commission.
Yes.
And that's who you were talking to. And all right.
Well, I was addressing the county commission. I think the time in the video is under 30 seconds, where you have a right to address your grievances with the government. It's basic First Amendment. There's time, place, and manner restrictions. I was out there at the right time. I was in the right manner. I should be able to say anything I want other than threats.
Right.
Physical threats against you.
Actually, and being that I know you've read this over and over and you know it well, you actually, as long as you don't make a threat, you can say what you want to. Is that correct?
Yeah. If I want to stand up there and say, F your plan, you guys are effing morons, that's Cohen versus California. I can stand up and say F the draft. That was decided over 50 years ago.
So, just to clarify something, what you were asking them to do was to repair a railroad crossing.
No, that's what they spun it as, where I was being more critical of what they're trying to use funds on and who they're trying to use the funds for. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the contention of the lawsuit was...
There was never anything about silencing the railroad crossing.
No.
Okay. Someone misunderstood. I just wanted to clarify that.
No, that was the way...
You didn't want to get the crossing. There was a problem there that you wanted corrected, but that wasn't what this particular meeting was about.
Well, I had Donald Leonard was on the agenda speaking about people shooting at the railroad crossing. You got to understand, Pull-Tight Road is 1/10 of a mile long.
And that's in Whiteside.
Yeah, it's 500 feet deep. And it's basically consistent of a hump going over a railroad track and past one other house, and it butts into my property.
We have another question here. I'm sure many people would be afraid to pursue a lawsuit against their county government. Were you ever concerned that there might be retaliation for your actions, and were there any?
Yeah, there was a lot of retaliation. But we'll get into that.
Okay.
So fast forward in February, I knew what they did was wrong. Rourke was the only one that called and apologized to me out of all the commissioners and everything. He called me the next day, and I didn't even know him. He didn't have my number. He sought that out to find me. And I remember specifically because he was the only one. He's like, that's not the America I fought for.
Yeah.
And I respected that a lot. And next month, they're like, okay, you want to play let's be on the agenda game. I got on the agenda. And I openly called them out for violating their constitutional oaths and their oaths to the Tennessee Constitution. Section 23 says all Tennesseans are created equal. They violated that because they didn't treat me equally. Because I lived in an outside county, or that I wasn't from here. So I knew I was kind of hot-headed, and it costs a lot to sue the government. I waited, I think March, I was kind of disheveled. I didn't really go. I was kind of pissed off to the county meeting, or something came up. April and May, I think I watched on the county meeting. or I watched, because it was Thunder Thornton had a big thing going on there. Everyone was fighting with him. And then there was Ronnie Kennedy asking about water lines, and another lady asking about getting a bridge fixed. And every time I'd see a citizen ask for help, they would just get like kind of shunned or like thrown off.
It's disrespected.
Yeah, disrespected in general. Like one of the meetings, Ronnie Kennedy and them were over there asking for fighting over the water lines, and then asking if there was the county could not waive connection fees, but finance the connection fees, so they could have enough people on the water lines. And they just kind of berated them for being poor. If Egypt Hollow is a lower income neighborhood, they've been neglected for decades. Like I remember when I first talked to Ronnie, he said he was fighting for water lines over there for 30 years. And that blew my mind. It still blows my mind. And people are over there without water, and because they couldn't get a water fee connection. But then on the flip side of that, Jasper wouldn't connect to them because there wasn't enough people. But that's another subject. So I think it was June, I got on the agenda again to speak, basically stating it's very disheartening when I see these elected officials and citizens going to ask for help. And once again, I was kind of just rushed off saying, I remember Linda said specifically, I was just up there fussing. And I turned around and said, you don't even have the respect to look at us while we're addressing you. And she's like, I'm texting the police. And I was like, what crime have I committed by using my First Amendment right to redress my grievances with the government? Like, when I'm seeing the systems that are built to help people openly just fail repeatedly, or be ignored, or just act like they're doing something, but they didn't do anything.
If you can, fast forward to what happened to you when you were up there and got escorted out, and then the events that took place from there. And then also why you felt it was important to go forward with the lawsuit against the county.
So after they removed me, I got dragged outside and basically escorted from the meeting. Dale Winters kept me outside, and Linda Mason was up there trying to spin it like I was just up there to talk about my railroad crossing. When I introduced myself as I'm the owner of the campground Donald Leonard was talking about from prior. I've been up here prior speaking about that railroad crossing. And the reason why I was even bringing that up in that conversation was because when I presented on that, they told me the county road budget was $10,000. But yet, when they want to do something, they have $2 million that they can use for their private developer road or whatever, that they can pull out of the general funds, or now they've got some federal funds they can manipulate. But yet, consistently, I kept seeing when citizens would ask for help or things like that, they act like broke or shamed for even asking for help or money. And that's what finally made me decide, if everyone gets up and speaks is shamed, that's not democracy. That's not freedom. Like, you don't have the ability to redress your grievances if you have to live in fear. So even once I filed, I think I filed in August against them for this with Robin Flores. Within the month, I had police acting like I'm the aggressor. When I've had to call about trespassers, I've had when I get the body cam footage afterwards, A, they give me a hassle about getting the body cam footage. B, I get the camera footage, and it's first thing, cops are like, oh, this is the guy that's suing the county. And trying to gaslight me. For instance, I had police officers tell me I needed a surveyor to tell me the east and west side of a roadway for a property boundary. And I have to look at them, I'm like, how do you have a post-ethical duty to be able to fill out a traffic report and accurately describe where you're at? And you can't tell me the east and west side of a roadway? Like, of a county roadway? A county-owned asset? I mean, I've had... I could go on for hours about just the nonsense they've done.
Now, every time, I think the lady that asked the question about you felt retaliated, did you have a fear of coming into Jasper to do things? Did you maybe...
Oh yeah, like literally I pissed off in my lawsuit. Linda Mason at the time was Billy Mason's wife. So the chief of Jasper's wife and the city clerk and the sheriff's department that's going to act retaliatory. I didn't come into Marion County for a good year. Like, I might come to a county meeting, but like I avoided doing a lot of business here. Luckily, I live right on the edge of the county, and a lot of my life revolved around Hamilton County, because I still have a lot of business I do over there.
So you went forward. This wasn't about money for you.
No.
This was about, listen, we need to do something for all the citizens of Marion County to make sure that they're treated properly, like as though they're customers to the government, the local government here. So you were trying to make sure that you were actually speaking up for every Marion County citizen so that they know, hey, you are able to come up to the county commission, you'll be treated with respect, dignity, say what you want to say, and then if you have the 3 minutes, you go sit down, and that's the end of the story. So if that had happened, you would never have sued the county.
Yeah, if they allowed me to speak for my 3 minutes, I wouldn't have a ground to even file a suit against them. If they had picked up the phone and taken any accountability and said, hey, we messed up, here's a public apology, or we messed up, and learned from that mistake, we wouldn't have had to continue. But even for my lawsuit, what most people don't understand is, I sued for, it's a U.S. Code Section 42, Section 1983. It's deprivation of rights under the color of law. You can also, you're suing the individual person for violating the rights of them. So I sued Dale Winters, Linda Mason, and Bo Burnett, or Ronnie Burnett. The extra to that was what's called a Monell claim. You're suing the county for allowing the pattern and practice of this to continue. Trying to get them to change and acknowledge you're doing this and it's unconstitutional. And you have either the policy or the repeated behavior that you're continuing to allow.
Did you see the rest of when you got escorted out, and you have to apologize because a lot happened that night and I don't remember the chain of events exactly, but you were taken out and didn't see the rest of the...
I got to see it on film afterwards, but...
So what you saw on film for the balance of it, what did you see, and what was some of the other things that were kind of key to your lawsuit and complaint against the county?
Just how they would treat certain individuals and how they would treat other people. Like, after I left that meeting, they spent probably 15, 20 minutes arguing about sunshine law and how they have the right to remove me from a meeting if I'm being disruptive. But I wasn't being disruptive. What happens when the county commissioners are disrupting me? They didn't bring that into the question. I believe it was you brought up at that meeting, well, what if one of my commissioners or people that wasn't on my agenda wants to speak? Can I let them speak? And then other people that weren't on the agenda started bringing other stuff up. Like, I think it was the Beavers came up after that. Also not speaking from a mic from the back of the room. You could barely hear them. But they allow that to slide. So that's viewpoint discrimination just in itself. If you're allowing one person to be heard, but not hearing the other side, you're just allowing an echo chamber is what you're doing. That's not democracy. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And the chairman, I would imagine when you saw the balance of the video, when the chairman announced that that individual didn't follow the rules, I would assume, did that impact the case at all?
She actually, that impacted the case a lot, or in my mind, and it impacted the idea that they tried to act like I was going to come back with a gun and shoot the place up after they violated my rights. And that bothered me a lot. But instantly they were just trying to create this narrative that I was being disruptive and was trying to dictate that when that wasn't the case at all. And even in my depositions, Bo Burnett says he didn't think I was being disruptive. He didn't think I needed to be removed. But he also said, hindsight 2020, he wouldn't change anything. That on the very last thing in his depositions, he said that, and that blew my mind. I'm like, so you learned nothing from this?
Now, my understanding is that you have, well, it's not just my understanding, you sent me the link.
Yeah.
And I posted it on Marion County Messenger, but you have posted your depositions and a lot of that stuff from the court case.
I posted everything.
Posted everything from the court case, so this is open for everybody that's following this. Also, you won the court case, $85,000 settlement. Is that correct?
I took a settlement. So let me go.
It didn't go to trial, but no. You got $85,000.
So I posted everything up on the case. It's on MarionCountyTN.com. I want to say it's / civil rights lawsuit. Yeah. It's on the drop down page. I filed suit. We went all the way through depositions up to motions for summary judgment. The motion for summary judgment had not been heard yet. It wasn't until, say, mid-December did they try to even start to mediate it, right, or make settlements. It was supposed to go to trial in March. Mid-February, they finally started trying to take mediation seriously. At first they offered, it cost me almost $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 to sue the government on that level. At first they started off with, oh, we'll give you $15,000 and a letter of apology. But they weren't doing anything to correct the behavior. Or they didn't want to admit any fault.
Would that have made, had you gotten from the chairman and or the head person of the county, let's say the mayor, personally called you and said, what we did was wrong. In other words, take accountability for what happened. Would you have dropped the lawsuit at that point?
Yeah, because they wouldn't have been openly defaming me for 2 years. Like, they kept trying to run with this narrative instead of taking any accountability for themselves. And the more and more I pushed for basic accountability, the more they wanted to, like, gaslight the public about me and my business and my intent and who I was. And that's where I started seeing this divide of outsiders, from my perspective. Yeah, like it.
Well, there's two things I'd like you to talk about. Is what's most notable in the depositions for each one of the people that was deposed, and then I'd like you to go through the process of what you had to go through for a file request. And actually, the third one, I forgot what it was, but it'll come back, I'm sure. So, but if you can hit those two right now, as far as the depositions are concerned, what really made you, or what stood out to you for each one of them?
Linda Mason's were just so bad. From why she acted how she did, claiming she had no constitutional rights training, how she had she claimed she was a 17-year officer, started working at SLED in South Carolina, transferred here, but claimed she had no First Amendment training, no Fourth Amendment training.
So we have a question from Rita Solomon. Do you think that she should step down as a commissioner? Because
Yeah.
she did treat you wrongly. Okay.
I mean, deprivation of rights under the color of law is a federal crime. Due to the separation of powers. Oh, that was the other kicker in my depositions when she was asked to explain separation of powers. They said, oh, you mean state, local, and federal?
Who said this?
Both Bo and Linda. In their depositions. It's all on my website.
Now, am I wrong in saying that police officers should know this inside and out? Is that what? Is that I don't know.
These are the basic fundamentals of every law in America. This is why I've had problems and openly said I don't understand the point of constitutional oath officers not even understanding the basics of the Constitution. And I want people to see, from my perspective, why I feel that way. Like, if you're the sheriff, you should be able to understand and explain what the Fourth Amendment is. You're dealing with constitutional rights, property rights, cars, searches, warrants. That's a big deal, dude. I think that's your entire job. On my depositions, one of the main things Bo said was, when they asked him what his responsibilities of sheriff was, he said his main duty was budget. So, are we treating it like a business, or are we treating it like a constitutional oath office? Because your sheriff's oath of ethics, the first thing was to protect people's constitutional rights. First and foremost.
Now, so Bo, Commissioner Mason, and Mr. Winters, you haven't mentioned anything. I mean, was he okay?
Dale's depositions were still pretty bad. He still has that old school mentality. I don't have any hard feelings against Dale. I think he was more caught in the middle of it. And he has his boss on one side of it and trying to keep the peace. I think that gives also the problem of, even when there are good cops, if you have bad cops at the top, they can't speak out. How do you support that? Like, we have this mentality of like, we're gonna keep this lie going perpetually, no matter what the cost is. And it's this like thin blue line mentality to me that I don't understand. I think it's toxic to politics. I think it's toxic to citizens and toxic to communities. Because you stop treating people like citizens and you treat them like income streams for your policing or your court costs, probations, and fines, fees, and forfeitures.
Well, tell us a little bit about the process that you had to go through, not just from a city perspective, but from the county perspective, when you request letter or information, so file requests. Tell me that whole process. And what you experienced.
Depending on what it is and what department it is. So at first it was just, you have to fill out this form, all this stuff, when state law said you just have to submit it in writing to them. So from Mayor Jackson's office, I've had to fight that couple hurdles. I've had Mr. Younger try to charge me, I believe it was $700 when I tried to investigate the drug task force. But part of that is those records are available for the public for viewing. So when I replied back, well, when can I view them, since they're public records, or I'd like a time and stamp, or a time and appointment to come view them, then the tune kind of changes. So they try to set the barriers up and limit what information can come out, what information is available. For instance, even towards the end of my lawsuit, after I had Linda's depositions And I believe it was January, I filed for a Freedom of Information Act request because I was hearing rumors about Billy retiring and Linda, the stuff going on with her at Jasper. So I filed a Freedom of Information Act request to kind of verify what's in her depositions also, to see, because she said she had no constitutional law training. Jasper gave it back to me. Not all the information was in there. They didn't want to give me any of the police information, where she was a police officer and any trainings that happened with that. They didn't want to give me any complaints that were involved with that. They did give me, which I think aided to my settlement, where she had perjured herself because she had an hour of open meetings and an hour of constitutional employee law training. So that, I think that was a bigger hurdle. Once I gave that to my attorney and I was announcing I was running for office, that's when they kind of wanted to push to settle. But I also had to take a settlement because of what's called an offer in judgment. Basically, if they offered me 85 and I go to a jury trial, because it was going to be a jury trial, I can win on 100% on the merits, but if a jury comes back and says, we only saw 25 in damages, I could physically owe for the city for their attorney's fees. It's like kind of almost like shorting their lawsuit, is the way the system's so screwed up.
Well, and so I know that you also did a website, and that was your way of speaking out. Tell us a little bit about that.
So that came about last summer, after they kept wanting to play First Amendment games and censor people. Anytime I'd make a post on Facebook, certain people in different groups would censor me or just kind of bully and jump on bandwagon trying to attack my character or credibility or whatever. And then I was looking up a county agenda or something one day, and I realized the county website was MarionCountyTN.net. And I'm like, that's dumb. Who owns the .com? So I looked it up. It was for sale for $12. I'm like, okay, bet. That's, my mind just started spinning. I'm like, they want to censor me and keep deleting what platform and information can get out. They want to play information games and censor what information gets out to the public. I'm just going to create a platform they can't take down. So within a couple of hours, I just built an absolute roasting. I copied the source code off their website and built a roasting of David Jackson and just county departments. And from that, it led to some citizen journalism stuff where I was hearing reports about corruption with the drug task force and other things going on with Marion County. And I started just writing more articles about covering that type stuff, which...
So after that, when did you do an ethics, or you put an ethics complaint in, when did you do that?
So, I don't want to say his name, but someone called me and told me, it's like, hey, did you hear about this drug task force meeting tonight? And I was like, no, what are you talking about? I didn't see anything on it, on the websites or anything. He said, oh, you need to go to Lawson Building tonight at 6. And that was just after I'd built that website. I was like, okay, so I go. And I basically walked into the police chief's union meeting of pitching. It was basically a sales pitch meeting. And it's on my website of Inside the Marion County Mafia. But it was basically a sales pitch meeting on why we should keep this drug task force and how well they're doing. But it was supposed to be for all the commissioners to be there. It wasn't. It was you, Steve Franklin, Paul Schaefer, Linda Mason, I want to say Gene Hargis was there. That was it. And they were just pitching of like how great this drug task force is and how much money they were taking off the streets and how much drugs they were getting. And I remember Steve Franklin said, well, wouldn't it be nice if you can get one of those Ferraris or a Lamborghini or something? And they retorted back saying, nope, we'll take anything as long it'll bring a buck. And that's when it bothered me. Like, I got really anxious and nervous in that meeting because I realized these guys have zero empathy. They're treating this as a business to them. And when I started diving deeper into that, I was realizing I dug deeper into the civil asset forfeiture laws of Tennessee. And yes, police are allowed to take your vehicle if you get caught. If you're running a big drug empire and you have assets or whatever, the cops can seize your assets for, like, to fund either drug. It's supposed to go into drug and alcohol education, prevention, training. It's like they seize your car. They can spend some of the money to store your car, things like that. They can pay for some officer training. They're not allowed to pay officers salaries because it breeds a perpetual cycle of where they have to steal to keep it going. From the information and lack of information that I was able to get from the county, I believe they're doing that in the county to where we have to keep operating to survive and steal.
And what was your... So I'd like to get an idea of the concerns that you had or that you have outside of the business related, that they're actually making money on this. Can you give us an example of where due process doesn't happen? Let's say for some reason you had X amount of dollars in your car and you are suspected of, they say, hey, I think you were selling dope with that money.
So this has happened, I know this from personal experience. I used to have this young black kid, Jamal, in Chattanooga, when I had my office downtown. He was a young black kid, lives in the projects. His culture, they didn't have banking. Like, he just didn't have a bank account. Like, it's just how he was raised. He'd always cash his paycheck. A couple times he'd get pulled over and he'd have like $700-800 on him, and he'd be in his car with a couple of his friends on a Friday night. They might have some weed or something on him, whatever. His paycheck had gotten taken.
And what does he have to do in order to get it back?
So in order for him to contest that, your money itself is going on trial. It's not your money. It's your money. You have to be able to claim it the way civil asset forfeiture laws is. It's like its own individual entity at that point. So, and even in order to contest it, it costs $650 just to fight it and appeal it in Tennessee. Never mind the fact that if you wanted to hire an attorney, it's going to cost you far more. So, like, if you get pulled over with a little bit of weed or whatever, or hemp or whatever, you can lose apparently your car in Marion County. You can lose whatever cash you have on you. You can have, there's far more implications. Like, they're not taking into the fact that it's an 8th Amendment excessive fines, fees, and forfeitures. I mean, Institute for Justice has been fighting this forever, but the way they've designed that system is they can just take it. And then the burden's on you to prove that it might not have been drug money. Or like, there was a lot in West Tennessee that was happening where they were profiling anyone going west for having cash and anybody coming east for having drugs on the I-40 corridor going through Memphis. Institute for Justice did a really long video or documentary on it, and there was a couple guys, like, there's a lot of big heavy equipment auctions that happen in West Arkansas, for instance, and there was a couple guys, they got pulled over. He was guys going to buy a skid steer. He gets profiled. He has cash on him because he was of a different descent. They just take his money. Now the burden's on him to prove it.
What you described earlier was that there was weed in the car. So what you're also saying is there doesn't have to be weed. There just has to be suspicion. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, they just have to say, we
If they have
suspect that of drug money.
And then you have to prove that their suspicion is wrong before you get your money back.
Yes. Like
Okay.
you're supposed to get a hearing within 10 days and be able to go and prove that your money was not what it was. But depending on what your culture is, or do you trust banks? Do you not? Do you have a cash-based business? Do you, there's a lot of variables why people have cash. Like I collect a lot of, or when I was self-managing, some weekends I might have 12, 15 grand worth of cash on me before I got to the bank. What happens in that situation? Because I get pulled over for a speeding ticket, now I'm getting robbed on the side of the road?
Well, we want to cover some other items. So you went forward with a ethics complaint.
Yes.
So go on from there. What happened with the ethics complaint?
So after watching all the drug task force stuff and realizing how their mentality and they were viewing it, I'd spoke with Carl Downs, the former drug task force director, who was advising not to have it here. He also spoke at that meeting. I applied to speak on the agenda again. I was silenced at that meeting and removed and told I had to speak in public comments, where I had like a 15 minute presentation prepared with all the evidence. Mayor Jackson did not want that to go through. So he forced me, to me, I thought it was more him stumping me to throw me off my game, but I had to go the 3 minute, tried to speak. I openly told the county officers or county commissioners, because they need to recuse themselves under Tennessee law. It's in their ethics policy that if you're the spouse if you're the spouse or employee of you can't vote for your past and present employers or people that you have a direct financial interest in. My ethics complaint was Morrison's a former sheriff. We have Gene Hargis that was a sheriff. We have the bankers holding their monies. We had Linda Mason, who's the wife of the police chief, who also benefits from the drug task force. And they need to recuse themselves from that vote because you have an open conflict. You have a vested interest in wanting to keep this because they keep funding themselves. They just blew it off. I think she looked at Billy and said, are we doing anything illegal, Billy? Billy gave her a quick...
And Billy Gouger.
Billy Gouger, yeah.
I was going to say, we have people asking about your campaign.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say about your campaign before we close out?
I'm just running on, I want transparency and accountability in this county. With ultimate power comes ultimate responsibility. I hate to quote Superman, but they're abusing the powers that they have and they won't hold themselves accountable. So at what point does that just become pure tyranny and not democracy?
And a question for you: when if you're fortunate to become Commissioner Morgan, you have an issue right now that actually last night, the SR2 and the water line issue right there in front of it's on Battle Creek Road. What was your thought on? You saw that. What was your opinion of all that?
That's been an ongoing issue. From one, we didn't have it accountable. We didn't have the proper permits pulled. So now from my understanding, the utilities and the finance commission or committees are both the same people. They didn't have a meeting, but yet they tried to slip in $16,000.
Yeah, just shy of $217,000.
Yeah, it was a lot of money to do rework on a line that we've already paid for as citizens, and they just tried to slip it through while there was no one there to ask questions about it or answer questions. The person that kind of messed it up, the head of the executive branch, the CEO of Marion County, wasn't there to take questions or even say, hey, I messed up. we messed up or take any accountability for it. And they kind of attacked you when you even said, hey, we need to pause this and table it till next meeting. And it wasn't until you kind of stood your ground and retorted back did all of a sudden we finally pull it.
So as commissioner, you'd want to see for your constituents very openness about what happened, why it happened, and why you as a taxpayer or why my constituents are the one that's going to pick up the bill for it.
Yeah. Dude, I've made some pretty amazing financial mess ups in my life. The big thing is, what did you learn from it? If you're just going to keep making that choice to keep repeating bad mistakes and not learn anything from it, that's a problem.
Duke, is there any questions from our audience for?
Well, I've been asking some of the pertinent questions as we went along.
Okay.
And there's been some things that have been asked that I don't think are appropriate.
Oh Lord.
I'm not going to bring them out.
I'm amazed how much hate I get on this county from standing up for basic constitutional rights.
Well, I mean, it is. I will say this: that we did this interview tonight because the county just settled with you for $85,000, and I do feel like that is newsworthy and definitely something to report about. We didn't really ask you on here to talk about your campaign or your platform. We asked you on to talk about the lawsuit, and
the lawsuit's kind of what scaled me into even running.
Yeah.
Having the federal, I knew they were going to act retaliatory. When I filed, my lawyer literally said to me, he's like, one or two things going to happen. They're going to leave you alone or they're going to go full blown and retaliate.
Yeah.
And having even the federal lawsuit was just like a layer of insulation against me.
Well, and we just had someone asked if it's not appropriate to ask that question. I say that the question this person asked is appropriate to ask you, but it has nothing to do with this lawsuit that you were just in and you just settled. And that's the reason I didn't bring it up. And it is something I'll talk with you about off camera, but I'm not going to ask that question on camera without having some background first.
Would you?
I don't have anything else that I want to ask you. Rurik, I do want to ask you a question. I was under the weather yesterday, wasn't able to film the Marion County meeting.
Mm.
What went on? I did go out and post the agenda, but what happened in the meeting?
The commission meeting you're referring to.
Commission meeting, yes, Marion County Commission meeting.
Well, it was exciting. We tried to get what I just spoke with Mr. Morgan about. The SR2 issue was on the change order was on the agenda. So I felt since the committee that I had asked to put together to look into what happened and why are we having a $217,000 bill that the taxpayer will pay for. That was something that I had a committee put together, or I had asked for a committee to be put together. My motion was passed. So we had a committee, and the committee had only met one time. They did not have enough people for a quorum, so they didn't meet. And it seemed like what the effort was to get the change order passed without an explanation to the public to let them know what happened. So that pretty much was the big gist. And of course, our football team did a great job. So outside of that, I don't think there was anything that was particularly notorious. We did find out that if you have a countywide seat, that you cannot, if you're running for office and you're an incumbent, you can't campaign from your office. So I had asked the council, Mr. Gallagher, about that, and I asked him if it was against the law, and he said it was against the law. And I asked him if it was prosecutable for such an act, and he said yes, it was. And then the other issue was the ethics committee and their findings to basically dismiss all of the complaints. And the only complaint that they did not dismiss or they did not act on was the one against Paul Schaefer from Chuck Keefe. And my concern there was, and the question that I asked council about was, what is the purpose of a county ethics committee? What's the authority that they have? And what I was looking for was that they have the ability to investigate. And I had asked in the meeting many of the folks that, or some of the folks that had ethics complaints, if the county attorney that they hired, that the ethics committee had hired, if they had talked to any of the plaintiffs, and they had not. So, basically, of course, I have my opinion on it, but I think your question to me, what happened?
Yeah.
So,
well, that brings us to another question that got asked. Someone asked when you're going to take a turn on Marion County Hardball as the interviewee.
Oh, I am absolutely looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to debating. Yeah. And I'm tickled to death that I mean it from. I'm very sincere about this, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. Everyone that runs, it's wonderful they get out there and run, whether I agree with them or not. Right. But I'm hoping Ms. Burkhalter will come on. You could interview us. Yes. But I think when we can get it scheduled, I know we're doing a interview on Thursday. Yes. That is Travis Lane. Travis Lane, that's correct. And I do believe that Sherry Leidy is coming on potentially.
I believe that is correct, yes.
So maybe
not
next week.
But I believe it's correct.
I think sometime next week, but one of the questions we want to make sure of is when we do get to the whatever we're going to call it, whether it's a round table or a debate, that's something you're willing to do, Thomas, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's something that, like I said, I look forward to that, and we'll schedule that next Thursday, whatever we can, and you can zap me with any question you want.
I will zap
definitely. I would love to have the folks that are running against, because I want the public to know, okay, I'm the crazy troublemaker. But also I want them to know the policies that I've put forth in the last 3.5 years to at least try to make this county an open and transparent government, and to treat our citizens as though they're customers.
Yes. Because
they are customers. And without our customers, we don't have a business. We don't have a government. So, but anyhow, is there anything as far as closing that you would like to do as for your campaign?
No. If you want more information about me and what I've been standing for since the past couple of years, all my information is on MarionCountyTN.com. Look forward to serving the constituents of District 2 and standing for transparency and accountability in Marion County.
Outstanding. And I've ordered the additional speakers because we talked about doing the round table for the mayoral candidates. Wouldn't it be great if we could do it for the sheriffs? If we can,
that would be fantastic.
And the round table, as Duke and I have discussed, is not necessarily a debate. It's really about identifying the issues that we have in the county and what we can potentially do to make things a little bit better, or make it more functional.
Absolutely.
So
that's absolutely what it's about, and I like that idea. Again, I would like to remind everyone, if you enjoy our programs here on Marion County Messenger, please go to the top of the Marion County Messengers page and click like. Click on our Ko-fi and make a donation. Not asking for much. Just $1 would be enough.
Strive for higher. Come on.
Okay, $2.
$5. Duke does a lot of work and for so little. So anything that you could be so gracious to give him would be appreciated.
Thank you. And we also will be interviewing the author of the article in the Nashville Sun here soon. That's coming up very shortly.
And you're
That
going
will not be a live interview. We'll have to pre-record that and air it, but we are going to be interviewing.
right. When do we want to put? We'll put that out in the next week, probably the end of next week.
Sometime next week. Look for that.
And what that's related to is we're going to be discussing I think it was Team Thunder, then the good old boys and gals of Marion County.
That's correct.
And a lot of the, I'll call them allegations that were made by the paper. So he's going to be talking about it, and I think he's going to give us a lot of insight to where that information came from.
Yep. Exactly.
So, anyways, it'll be exciting.
It will be exciting. Folks, thank you all for tuning in and join us next Thursday night. We'll be interviewing Travis Lane and possibly Sherry Lighty. Have a good evening.